How you doing today? I got off today, Charlie. I'm sorry. I thought I did this completely by Zoom, but I did not. I thought I'd done this as a Zoom meeting, and I didn't realize until 10 minutes ago that I was putting one here too. Oh, okay. So I apologize. Well, you're fine. You need another table? Yeah, we'll probably need another table and yeah. Well, I had put down the community center, so that's what I had just. See, I have it on my calendar, but I only have the Zoom link. I didn't put anything about the community center. So that's why I thought it was just a Zoom link. Please, you don't have to blame the meeting. All the meetings we do, and I'm gonna mess up what we're gonna do. I messed up today. That's for sure. As long as nobody comes in here and execute this, will be all right. And it's there to help you, but I'll stop it. Well, I can't say that I knew. So. Spend a little money. The first time I've done one of these on a phone, so we'll see how it works. I don't know why it's. Turn on a network. Ms. Knutson, can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, well, it keeps showing that my microphone's not on, so I don't know why.
No, I can hear you fine. I leave mine muted in case my dog starts to bark.
Yeah, I understand. It's just mine showed my name, but then it had the little microphone crossed out, so I didn't know that it was picking up.
Yeah, no, I did the fair meeting last night and they had the same problem, but I could hear them fine.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
We'll just leave it like this for right now. What you need. Ms. Knudsen, can you hear me? I'm usually pretty good. See where I made a mistake. Well, I've got 10:08. Charlie, I think I made a mistake on the scheduling. I don't think I sent out the Zoom to as many people as I thought I did. And on my calendar, I had it down as a Zoom meeting instead here at the community center. So I apologize for that. I think this is one of the scheduling got away from me. I was trying to do multiple meetings and I think the scheduling got away from me on this one. Well, I got you here and Natalie Knudsen's on Zoom. I was on the economic development training that Dan attended yesterday, or in the last 2 days, for the entrepreneurship. And there's a lot of information coming out you all at once, so it may be that this is better that this one didn't go off like I had hoped, because I can put something together and do a better one later. I think I can get Dan's participation, because he was able to answer a lot of questions that people had in the chat box about entrepreneur centers and that kind of stuff. He's done a lot of research on it, so he was able to answer a lot of questions there. So I think being able to have Dan participate would be a big help. Good. Once we do the next one. But I'll just kind of go through some of the things that came out of that training yesterday. That was done through University of Tennessee Center for Industrial Studies. It's part of their certified economic development training. And the main presenter, one organizing it was Mo Collins, and she does entrepreneurship is kind of her forte. That's what she does. And going through the training, she was talking about how if you look back when we had the .com bubble and bust and all that stuff, as far as entrepreneurship, how it's thought of now, that was really the first wave of it. Mm-hmm. And then after that busted, it kind of went down a little bit. Now we're actually seeing a second wave that's more tech driven than what it was even previously. And that's driven a lot of remote work and that kind of stuff, people looking to other things. And then she went over kind of what she calls the entrepreneurial stack. And it's 4 different things she was looking at. She's talking about micro enterprises, which are usually found in clusters and downtowns and small spaces. They need very little startup capital because it's mainly just one person doing it. They're usually not a big lifestyle change. It's not like they're actually starting what big people commonly think of as a small business. It's something like, now would probably be called like a side hustle, something like that. Vast majority of them are in and out of business in 1 to 3 years. And they usually go in business because they have a passion for something. It's not really driven for making money. It's just they have a passion to do something and they're doing that. They don't like really having business plans. So because they're not traditional small business, they're just, I want to design and sell t-shirts, but they want to do it kind of like a side business if they have no job or something. And talk about their needs vary. And the second one, she really talked about the small business needs of people, 1 to 50 employees. There usually is a lifestyle change for them. If somebody wants to start some kind of business that they want to be their lifestyle as they go forward. They usually in what people usually think of the traditional industries. Income's usually, and they need usually between $50,000 to $500,000 in financing starting up. They do write business plans, and they will take classes as far as doing business and running business plans, those kind of things. Normally we get SCBA loans, and it's kind of recommended to send these people to small business development centers and other lenders. Startups and scale-ups, that's what you think about like Facebook or something like that, and more tech-driven. Usually 1 to 50 employees. They're kind of what she calls the second wave of this tech revolution, and it's autonomous vehicles, artificial intelligence, and things like that. Really driven like that. And their whole goal is to start something small and then grow it. Again, I use Facebook, and she said the end game is usually they sell it outright or do it grow so big they do an IPO, and again, it's like Facebook, Uber, those kind of things. And then you've got what she calls venture companies, and these are usually the ones that spring up around the universities due to their research. They're the ones that really capitalize on the research and market it and do that kind of thing. And they just sometimes license whatever the breakthrough is from the university or have something like that. So they're just looking at those 4 main types. And she had some people there that had done entrepreneur centers and those kind of things in other states and other places. And she had Wisty Pender there was talking about placemaking and that kind of thing. And really what came out of it, boil it all down here, entrepreneurs need really 3 things. They need to network so they can know each other and bounce ideas off of each other, and not work just with each other, but also lenders, economic development organizations, those kind of things. They need capital to start up their businesses, and that's going to vary depending on what type of business it is. The micro enterprises need something different than the small businesses does. They need something different than the startups. And they need something different from venture capital and venture companies. And the last thing they need is technical assistance, basically finding a way to wrap all these different services around them so that they have access to it and know where to find those as they're starting up their. And he had talked about the first thing they really did was built that local entrepreneur or networking. He said, try to build your networking before you go and do these spaces or anything like that, because then once you go to do the space, you know that there is a need for it and you've got all that stuff right there already. People take advantage of it once you get off the ground. But one of the things they, like I said, they really talked about doing the networking first, getting those things together, whether it's, you know, I think 1 million cups is something they mentioned. They don't have one here. The closest one is Chattanooga, but you have little, I think they call them like a little get together. It could be at a bar or something, just get together, have a few drinks, socialize, that kind of thing. Getting all these people together so they can start talking and knowing each other, and build that kind of rapport with each other. And then as we're doing that, we need to look and see what our capital is out there. Like I said, micro enterprises, there may be something, the loans or money they would need to be different. It could be friends and family giving it to them. Just seeing what all these different resources are as we move forward on it. And talked about working with your local banks to try to see if they've got something that could be put together. What kind of businesses would they be looking for to help provide capital for it, start up. Pathway Lending was on there, did a presentation about what they do. And I think Dan mentioned in the chat box that they had helped Carson over at Irish Fuels get up started. And they've got education programs that people that are wanting to start a business or entrepreneurs can take advantage of. And they also can help provide technical assistance for the ones that they do. Like if they do give them a loan or something like that, I think they said they assign an accountant or a business specialist or some kind of person that really work with them on their business to get it up and going. I know it's all kind of scatterbrained right now. Like I said, this just hit, and I really haven't had time to get it all together. It was just such a flood of information over 1.5 days. But really, what came out of me is looking at Trousdale County, because I've been looking at entrepreneur center. But really, the idea was just to have a place where we get all these things together, all these services they need, try to find out what that access to capital is, have that information for them, but provide them a space so that they can start up. Right now, we don't really have them. I know I've been contacted. I know Natalie's been contacted with people looking for somewhere to start up. And well, if they look in downtown, we got a few buildings that are acceptable enough, but they want to rent the whole building. The owner wants to rent the whole building out. Well, these people don't need the whole building. They just need like a little space inside the building. So I'm trying to provide that would be something going forward. But looking at it right now, I think probably the first thing we need to do is start building that network, do that networking and get that stuff off the ground. Because right now, other than a few people that have contacted me, I can't tell you how many people we have here that are wanting to do it. I know TVA says we have 185 people before the pandemic that were remote working. I imagine it's much more than that now. I would have to follow up with Melissa Halsall to see what it is. And I know before the pandemic, I talked to people whose company would let them work remotely, but they didn't want them working at home. That may have changed during the pandemic. It may be let them work at home. But if they're not, and they are willing to let them work somewhere else, we could provide a center for them to come to so that they wouldn't have to drive into Nashville or something like that. And one of the things they really talked about is trying to make sure that your community has broadband. So they said that's really what you're going to see driving going forward. Because they've seen in other communities that expanded broadband out. They mentioned one in 2 counties in Kentucky that the local government went in and helped fund this. And they said even though it was not pretty how it got put in, and it's kind of ungainly looking, most of us because it's run down telephone poles into people's houses and whatnot. I think they saw after that came in, they saw 600 new jobs created as a result of having that broadband available. And I know here we had Tri-County that's been putting broadband out, North Central has been putting broadband. DTC is coming down on the south side of the river, provide broadband in those areas. The only area they're not going to cover is what's Beasley's Bend, and that's the area almost directly south, and you got to kind of go through Wilson County and come up into it. It's separated from the rest of Trousdale County. There's not a bridge directly to it, anything like that. Yeah, you go down 141, and when you get to Beasley's Bend Road in Wilson County, take it over and then turn right, and it'll take you up in that area. So you kind of go a long way around to get to it, but it is Trousdale County. And that's like one area that right now DTC is not going to cover. They are trying to get funds as they go forward to move into that area. Wisty, as I said, Wisty Pender was on there talking about the placemaking grant. And one of the things, the questions that she says they're going to have, to me, if we do this networking and that kind of stuff, we're going to get those answers to those questions instead of just contacting Malibu and she asks us questions and going, we don't know. So I think that's probably the first step we need to do is start working on some of these networking events, try to find ways to identify these people and try to get them together with me and Dan and, some people from the banks or Natalie from the Chamber of Commerce or whatever we can find, maybe somebody from GNRC, those kind of things, try to get them all together, start talking and try to see what are their needs, what are their ideas, how do we need to start structuring this for Trousdale County specifically. So that's kind of what it looks to me like that needs to be the first step of the networking. That's something probably need to reach out to some other groups and try to see how they first started doing that. And that's something else that also came out of it. Wisty said it, Mo said it, some other ones did, but Wisty was particularly hit on it. You're not going to reach out and find those people that already done it. There's no sense trying to reinvent the wheel. Somebody out there has already done all this. Which we talked to Jeff Brown at the Biz Foundry in Cookville, and Wisty said she would be willing to help us out, answer questions, and those kind of things that would go forward. So that's, again, as I said, it may be a blessing in disguise that it didn't come off like I thought, because we had all these things and I had all these ideas popping up. That kind of changed the way I was looking at it. So it might be a good thing that it didn't come off like I hoped it would today, and then we can do something much better when we reschedule it. And I will reach out to Dan and get him much more involved when we redo it the next time, because he's been doing a lot of research on it, I know, and he's able to answer a lot of questions. So I think this is kind of a blessing in disguise, to be honest with you.
What's the status? I know Jeff had been up here and said, he told me years ago he was glad to work. I know it's technically out of his territory, but he'd be glad to work.
Right. I think the last time I remember talking to him is he was not. They were doing one in Sparta, which they got opened up, and they'd opened up another one in Vanderbilt. He wasn't looking to open one up under the Biz Foundry, but he was willing to give advice and that kind of stuff to help us out, which we'll still reach out to him and try to take advantage of it. It's a lot of, obviously it's expanded and done a lot of really good stuff up there. I did look in our area because it's one of the, they got 7 to 9. I know they tried to have 9 originally, the incubator center.
9 districts.
Right. And the Biz Foundry is the one for the Upper Cumberland area. Their area is Nashville Entrepreneur Center, but they don't seem to do anything outside of Nashville. I can reach out to them and go, hey, if we do something down here, are you willing to carry it under your banner, or try to see what they're doing? I know they, in the past, it looks like it's changed over. I know in the past they weren't really willing to do anything or interested in doing anything outside of Nashville. And I can understand that. You've got a lot of people there, and it's a lot of resources that's taken up right there just dealing with Nashville. And I'm not going to propose that they come up here and run this one, but if we can do it kind of under their umbrella and get some advice from them and do it that way, and then work with Jeff and try to see how we need to schedule, how we need to structure it. And another thing that came out of it is somebody asked the question, because I told them I was going to do something today about an entrepreneur center and whatnot. And somebody asked the question, is it better to do one of those under the county, or how's it best to do it? And what kind of came out of the research I found before talking to Melissa Halsall and other ones, and the people that were in that class yesterday, is it's better to do it as a nonprofit than to try to do it under county government, because nonprofits will have access to capital that county governments really won't be eligible for, different grants and whatnot. So it really came out of that it was best to do it as a 501c3, which I was hoping, and maybe trying to get on and then go see. I was hoping to kind of maybe talk to the Downtown Revitalization Committee and get them. Oops. See if I got anybody else who's been trying to get in. Bridget Jones is on here. Hey, Ms. Jones, can you hear me? I'm gonna take this off. It's all right.
Yeah, all right.
Yes, Mayor, I can hear you. Thanks for connecting me.
There she is.
Hey, Charlie. Charlie Lyons,
It's
Bridget
not
Jones
coming through.
here.
I can see you, Ms. Jones, but I can't hear you.
Okay,
Not muted.
okay,
It doesn't show she's muted, but it's not coming through for some reason.
okay. I am unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Hello, how are you?
I just wanted to look, we're renting this place tomorrow,
Okay.
and I was just wanting to look at something. That's okay.
All right.
Mayor Chambers, I can hear Bridget.
Okay.
Let me see here.
I can hear Bridget, even if you can't.
Okay, now I can hear. I couldn't hear anybody before, but now I can, and I see why. I had the microphone plugged in so it would pick us up better. However, it was trying to use that as the speaker also. So,
Now can you hear me, Mayor?
yes, ma'am, I can hear you now.
I'm glad to connect with you all today. The next time you all get together, we'll be able to travel. It's going to be about another month. So thanks for letting me do it this way today. Hey, Charlie Lyons.
Good morning.
Good to see you, my friend.
It's doing well. Been a long time, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Well, Ms. Jones, I was kind of going over, I did the entrepreneur course through UTCIS over the last couple of days as part of the Certified Economic Development Training, and there was a lot of information coming at you. And to be honest with you, we didn't have a lot of turnout here. There was a lot of miscommunication on my part. I thought I shared the Zoom link more, and I actually thought it was going to be a Zoom link, and I forgot I had scheduled for here today. But as I was telling Charlie, I think it's kind of a blessing in disguise. There was a lot of information that came out that kind of changed how I saw going forward on this. And Dan Tidcombe from Tennessee Central was there as well in that training. And he's not available to be here today. However, he does have a lot of knowledge and has done a lot of research on entrepreneurship efforts. And I think when I schedule the next one, number one, I'm gonna have my staff help them a lot more. We've been really, really busy, and I didn't want to take up their time. So I kind of dropped the ball a little bit on this one. I apologize, but as we go forward, I want to incorporate a lot more of what I learned yesterday into what we're doing, because as I said, that really was a lot of information coming all at once, and I really only have about 30 minutes this morning to go, kind of go back and look over it because I've been so busy. But
So Mayor, hey Mayor, I've taken that course with Mo, and I actually work with Mo now on some other initiatives, and wow, all that information she provides in that course is just fantastic. So that will be a good strategy if you just want to reschedule this meeting. And again, we'll be able to travel and get up there in about a month, actually. So 3 weeks or a month. So mid-April. So
all right.
if you want us to come back up live, we could sit down and help you with the strategy session on that. But we are working in, Nancy and I are working. Is it just the three of us? And then there's Natalie on here. Is it just four of us today? Three of us? Yeah. So Nancy Williams and I are actively working in about 6 of our Main Street communities right now to help them figure out and get their strategy, their plan, their strategy put together so that they can begin to craft what they want to put in place for entrepreneur centers and co-working centers. And we're doing an interesting project right now in Dayton, and I actually was hired in addition to my Main Street consulting work up there. They were wanting to do a co-working center too, and they just were all over the charts with it. And they applied, ECD recommended that they apply for one of their assess and plan grants.
Yep.
So they were awarded an assess and plan grant. And then ECD recommended that they hire me because I've been doing a lot of these assess and plan strategy consultations in the South Central region.
Okay.
So we're nearing the end of the Dayton process. And what I did, just for you to think about, because you identified those 5 co-working centers to benchmark in your email, they'd been to some of them, but basically they really hadn't taken most course, and they didn't really know where they wanted to focus their efforts. They knew they wanted something like the Biz Foundry in Cookville. So they'd been up there. So we basically did an initial kind of conversation with their team and talked about what their objectives were, what they wanted to, who they wanted to serve. And they settled in on serving their downtown businesses, of course, and launching some new entrepreneurs. And then we identified for them the strategy to connect with Bryan College, because in Athens, Tennessee, at the Lighthouse, they have a partnership with Tennessee Wesleyan where the students and the faculty come to their campus to do stuff. They do classes, they offer co-starters for the students as well as the community. You could do something like that with your TCAT if you wanted to. I've heard y'all have a really outstanding TCAT director, and TCATs are right to do that co-starters training for their graduates, because most of them are wanting to go out and start their own business anyway, right? So anyway, we went up and I helped Dayton organize a process where we would get their input. Then I did some education for them. I was going to have Mo Collins do a webinar for them. And then I ended up just taking them on a field trip to Athens. And we went over and met with the Athens people and looked at how they set their Athens Lighthouse up, how it was funded, how they've been using funding from TVA and Placemakers Grant, as well as some other funds to offer their programs and to equip that facility. So we got them all to see all that. And then the Bryant College guy met the Tennessee Wesleyan dean. So now they're starting to think about doing co-starters for their students at Bryant College. And because our idea was to get those students to come to the downtown because they're a market, and right now they're not coming over there. And you have the opportunity to do that in Hartsville too, right? So anyway, we did that. And then now I gave them then the next thing I had to help them do is they're looking at 2 or 3 different buildings. So I designed a worksheet that they're now utilizing to check out and gather information on their 3 potential locations. And their task force is doing that right now. And then as they do that, I'll work with them to figure out the services and the amenities, services they want to offer, the amenities they want to put in place, make sure that the location they pick will support all that. And I've recommended that they want something like the Biz Foundry, but I've recommended that they go larger with their training room in the back, and also try to create more micro offices, because that's what people really want right now, particularly if you're doing the remote work thing. And then we're doing that right now. And then I'll go back over and take their choice, and I'm going to give them a step-by-step action plan to line up their funding to pay their rent and their lease, their utilities. We're going to show how they can apply for TVA for part of what Melissa and her team can provide. They give up to $25,000, as you both know, to equip these places. And then we will add to that recommendations for what they asked for through a placemaker grant. equip and furnish and, launch that center. We also, when we give placemakers grants, we include, they fund equipment and the, business technology and the training technology and all that stuff. They train that through their category of setting up facilities. But then we also work and help them identify what kind of training programs they want to offer, like co-starters or something through Pathway Lending or Tennessee Tech or somebody. Biz Foundry comes out and does classes in communities. But then we put a budget line item in there to pay for that through the train and sustain category of a placemaker grant. So what we'll do is break down Dayton's selection, define exactly the services they want to offer, which ties back to what Mo taught you about the populations you want to serve, and then help find the facility, figure out how to, set up a business model where they can pay for it, operate it, and then we identify the grant funding they can apply for to equip it and start operating things. So we're going to wrap them up in May with that strategy. And I'm going to make it where it's a step-by-step thing to follow to, just say, okay, here's how we're going to pick the place. Here's the audiences. They're going to serve their downtown existing small businesses. That's their goal as a Main Street program. But they also want to do a lot with future entrepreneurs, and that's all ages. So that's their target audience. And they also have some remote work activity going because they're so close to Chattanooga. And like we've talked with y'all, y'all have the potential, if you make becoming a remote work ready community your strategy for this, you can set that up as one of the target audiences you want to serve. You can let those come in there and use your co-working entrepreneur center, but then that opens up the door to start looking at some of your other real estate and see if there's some buildings that could host some small offices, micro offices, because that's really what people are wanting right now. We've seen that evolution. So anyway, that's the kind of technical assistance that we're giving our Main Streets, and we'll be more. And I've written grants for these things for some communities, and again, the funding sources are out there. There's another funding source that you could potentially ask as well. If you had your strategy, USDA, rural development, RBEGs can fund this too. And y'all are ARC, right? Aren't y'all ARC? An ARC eligible? No? Okay.
No,
Oh, no. Okay.
No,
Good try. Good try.
I mean, Smith County and Macon County, we border it, but we're not in it.
Okay, I got you. We looked on the map just to check, Nancy and I. But anyway, I think, and the whole concept, another thing that we've learned from Mo and in our research in other communities is it's okay to have multiple locations. I mean, you can have this entrepreneur co-work in Anchor, but then you could have some services going out at the TCAT. You could have, something at your chamber office, which is idea. So, and Charlie, you would have something at your office, so you could be a place where people could go to find out what they need, and you could send them wherever. Brenda Brock's doing that in Hickman County at Centerville Co-works as a part of her economic development program. I was just over there yesterday. But y'all, it's called an entrepreneurial ecosystem. Mo talked about an entrepreneurial ecosystem, and then, have that all done. We need to get y'all certified as a Tennessee Smart Start community. That's an online resource that Wisty Pender through Bureau offers. I consult with her on that too. But that basically is where you have all your point people in your offices trained, and then everybody knows how to talk to them and not lose them and send them to the right place. And then there's an online resource where they can go through and figure out how to register their business. They can do an online business canvas. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that y'all can bring in. And but anyway, that's a little bit of background on the stuff we're doing through our Main Street and Tennessee Downtowns program. And Charlie, that's kind of where my professional services practice has taken me for the last 5 years. It's economic development, but you do it in a downtown area, right? Which is your thing. But we'll help you, Mayor, however y'all want to get some help on any or all of this. Okay. And we want to help you because I think getting this going this year, in addition to improving your real estate, your building stock, and supporting the small businesses you have and recruiting some new ones is really, you said it, you want to serve people to be remote workers and get them downtown to do it, right? I think that's just the strategy for y'all. And then when you do that, there'll be enough people down there every day where they'll, support a coffee shop and, some other businesses that we can locate. Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am. And that's, the remote workers is one area I wanted to target and give them a place to go, but also anybody that's wanting to start a business, whether it's going to be, Ramon talked about the micro enterprises, or anybody wants to start a business that needs a place to start up. And like you said, just wrapping all those services around them, and that's something I've looked at in the past, back when it was called No Wrong Door.
Right,
then,
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Put that all into it and have different, things around town that, as they were talking about, and I think they said that the 3 things that they needed, entrepreneurs are going to need, was the networking, capital, and technical assistance. Well, I think right now, until we can have this next meeting, what we need to start doing is working on that networking, because I've been contacted by a few people that are looking to start businesses or could take advantage of this entrepreneur center, but I think we really need to do a more outreach campaign and try to get some kind of social events together to start getting these people together, not just the entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs, but also get them, invite some people from the banks or other organizations they would be involved with, and try to break the ice and get that out there and let people know what we're looking at doing. And that really talked about yesterday is your program needs to be entrepreneur led. What is it they need? And right now, I know generally, just kind of ideas of what they've looked at. I've had people when I was campaigning talk about wanting to do pop-up shops and that kind of stuff.
Right.
When we do this entrepreneur center, I was trying to make it as diversified as we can, because I'd already talked to Ball State, and they would be willing to do an off-campus classroom and furnish the computers and stuff there that we could use as a training room or a conference room or whatever else we needed. It would just off-campus classroom for Ball State. So I do have
great
to make it diversified. I just need to start making, not just me, but all of us need to start working to see if we can start doing that networking, get those people out here and let them know that we're looking to do this. And then that way, when we move into the assess and plan thing, we've got those people that we can already contact to see what we got to do. Because right now, we're going to be starting from scratch, having to beat the bushes to get them out, which to me, we need to already have that going before we move into the assess and plan phase or put in.
Well, I agree with you. You're right on target. And, you and Charlie with the economic leaders and the TCAT leaders, or even Ball State's a great partner, just getting them lined up. And then that would be the bankers, obviously, but that's the group of people that you'd want to bring in whenever you do the initial community input meeting, whenever you begin the assess and plan process. Because those are all the stakeholders that you would want to help you, get them behind it, and then get them involved so they can see how they can be a part of it, and then help shape what your plans are, what facilities you need, what services you need, and then you'll have a team around you to help implement it. I have a suggestion if y'all want to do this. Charlie, Brenda Brock down in Hickman County in Centerville. Brenda Kinsley's wife?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I was over there yesterday, and they're becoming a Main Street program right now. But for the last year and a half, I've been working with them in the South Central Entrepreneur Network thing. And we did an assess and plan strategy for her that she's working off of now. But the reason they're good, Brenda's the economic developer, Mayor. She's the Charlie. And they
Okay.
had some millionaires come in and buy about 8 of their downtown buildings and put their money in their real estate there instead of buying one building in Nashville. So suddenly there's this infusion of investment capital that's bringing all their buildings around their square up to speed. The first thing that the investors did, understanding that they're going to have to do some work to fill those buildings up, is they funded the redevelopment of an old small grocery store that was right off the square in Centerville. And now they've created Centerville Co-works.
Okay.
And it is the best example of a multi-purpose co-working, training, micro office center that I've seen, honestly. And I'll send y'all the email to look at the floor plan. But they opened that up last year, and they use that training room for their corporations, Charlie, to get the corporations to bring people to town. They teach, WIA classes in there. They could host community college classes in their big training room. But they've got about 5 or 6 good-sized micro offices in there, as well as a common space. And they've got business equipment. And Brenda actually has moved her office in there, Charlie, and she manages it.
Good.
So she's on site, and she's going to be working to offer. They're offering training now for their downtown retailers to get ready to keep them and get some more. So it is the anchor of her economic development program. But I think if y'all wanted to, she's done the steps you're thinking about. She got a group of the very people you're talking about rounded up. And then I went over and we've worked with them and gotten input from them, and they're all working with her now to get everybody lined up with the no wrong door thing. We've trained them all to use Tennessee Smart Starts. They're all her committee now. It's going to wrap around her new Main Street program. But she's got it going on, and it's tied directly to their economic development objectives. And she also got some money from Melissa Hassel. TVA gave out some money last year to some communities that were doing this stuff. She got 2 or 3 micro grants from a TVA for the remote worker piece. So, she did some remote working programming, but that's a good one that I think y'all might want to come over there one day and look at it, and we could sit down and, let you learn from her how she's positioned it with economic development and how she's got the stakeholders around her. And then we can show how that's going to be a foundation to, build their Main Street program on. And, it's a really good example. But the facility, I'll send you the email link, the floor plan's on it. But it's just extremely well designed, and the size of all the areas are really good. See, Jeff Brown told me at the Biz Foundry in Cookville, if he had to do over again, if he could, that building he's in, he would have liked that back training room we met in that day we went up there to be a lot bigger, because he realizes he could host a lot more corporate, and community training events.
Right.
So that's some insight about, how big to make it, right? But anyway, that's a good best practice community. It's not that far for y'all to drive, around, to get over there. But I think, that would be a good one to look at from the community engagement and leadership step you're getting ready to take now, but also how they did the private investment, and then, how they're leveraging the developer fixed it and furnished it. But now
Okay.
they're asking for grant funds to do the training and the services, right? But they could have asked for grant funds to put some of the equipment and furniture in there, but he just did it himself. But you can see how the furniture she's bought, it's real multi-purpose, and it's a real cool place. And anyway, but that might be a possibility if you want to, go over there and just figure out what all they've done and how they've built their team, and, the facility was designed and how they're opening it up and using it for a bunch of different purposes, right? So, but I I hope this has been helpful. It's hard to cover a lot of stuff, but you can do it on Zoom. You got people, that, can, already has a background in economic development like both of y'all do, but it's really, just setting up an economic development support program for entrepreneurs and small businesses, just like you do for people out in industrial park, really, but the facilities and the programming and the incentives you can offer for your entrepreneurs and your downtown businesses look different than what you offer out in the industrial park for an industry. But you got to get you got to know who you want to serve, which what that is. You got to get your real estate ready, so there's a place to put them. You need to make it easy for them to do business in your downtown with governmental, codes and requirements. Then if you want to offer some incentives to them, like the facade grants are a good incentive. That new hardware pool store is hopefully going to get one, and that'll incentivize them to get set up to do well down there. But then the other one is the entrepreneur training and the small business support to really keep what you have, but grow new ones like you are talking about. And then, just work it. You just have to work it as a team, as a no wrong door team, and just work with all of them, and then bring these programs and training and resources in to help them. And then you just follow through on them and don't lose them and see what else they need. You're right about another thing with entrepreneurs and remote workers or small business owners, having a place for them to do meetups, like networking events, all that is part of the services you offer too, because it gets kind of lonely when you work at your home office and you're an extrovert like me. I like to get out, but I'm set up in my home right now to run my business. I was operating out of my condo in Nashville, and now I just moved it back down to Columbia, which I like it better down here. I'm going to sell that place in Nashville. But, you've got people like that out there that maybe work at home or whatever, but they get tired of that and they want to come downtown or maybe get a micro office downtown. So that's kind of a little bit about what's going on and helping the help that's available to other communities. So, but yeah, you want to go ahead and just start talking to your people. Y'all want to go ahead and start talking to your key leaders out there and tell them what you're thinking about, like you said, and get them kind of lined up to be your team on this process. I think that's the next step, right? What y'all going to do?
Yeah, we're gonna do that, and then I think we're gonna schedule another task force or do it properly, have a meeting. I want to work with you and Dan Titcomb, because Dan's done a lot of research on this and talked to a lot of people as far as entrepreneur centers and that kind of stuff, and really work with you two, and really have you come in and do a lot of what you just talked about when we have the bigger group. But for right now, go forward, try to make those contacts and start that networking and start building up right there, and then kind of see where we want to go. Because I know Natalie has been contacted somebody that we're talking about doing that would have needed a commercial kitchen.
Right.
Somebody that would need a commercial kitchen, and I talked to two other ones when I was campaigning that wanted to do pop-up shops, so I can look at those there. Then also, I know the remote work, we got some people that would do remote work, but and I know Natalie's talked to people that are looking to start a business. I have too, and so is Charlie.
Yeah. And a pop-up shop retail establishment would also be a good fit for y'all right now. And ECD has funded those too through placemakers. They're doing them in Johnson City right now, along with training. Winchester's getting ready to do one of those. So we can show you some examples of these in other places. And but yeah, that'd be great. And Nancy will come too, because she staffs these grants at ECD. And then as her consultants, we just work together with our community leaders to help put your strategy together and help you get focused, so then you can start to apply. But again, we'll be able to travel in a month. Honestly, we're going to get our vaccines next week, and then we're going to give it 2 weeks. We made it this long, right? And by mid-April is when we're going to start safely, get back out in our communities. So if that timeline works okay, you can pick out, a day. We need to come out and see Kim Parks anyway in Lebanon.
All right.
So we could, I'll have to check with Nancy on her availability, but I definitely want her to come too. And then while we do this, we also can just do a final check-in with you on your facade grant as you're getting ready to get it kicked off and get it going, to see what else you need on that. Okay, Mayor?
All right.
Is that too long to wait to convene your group?
I don't think so, because we're gonna start doing that networking, so it's not like we're not gonna do anything in between now and then. And I think that'll really give us time to put together a better presentation, and then a lot more informative as we do it then. No, I don't think a month's too long, because like I said, it's not like we're not gonna do anything until then. We're actually gonna start making steps, reach out and start doing the networking. So I think a month's okay. So looking somewhere around, yeah. Well, if you could do, you and Nancy might be here somewhere that week of the 26th, so that's last week of April.
Yeah, I think she will be back from vacation on Monday. She went to the beach, which she needed a break with her husband. But yeah, if we can check with her on Monday when she gets back and pick out a date and time that last week of April would be perfect. And then you will already have kicked off your facade process by then, right? We check in with you on that, and that would be great. So do you want me to ask her on Monday about her availability and call you back and see if we can get on her schedule for a date and time?
You can, or is it Doodle that you can do the little, you send out the thing and you have people basically vote and click in what dates and times are available?
Yeah, you can just doodle and send it to both of us, and then we'll respond to your doodle. That'd be even better if you want to do it that way.
The TVA rural leadership is on the 29th and 30th.
Okay, so maybe we could do it the 28th or something. But yeah, send out a doodle. And then let me ask you something else, Charlie. With the TVA connection you have, Melissa Hassel has got a network of economic developers that she sends stuff to all the time about co-working and remote work and entrepreneur stuff. Are you in her network?
Am I in her network?
Uh-huh.
I haven't been talking to her lately, but no, I know Melissa. We could definitely ask her to be here.
Well, here's what I want you to do, because she's working with John Bamber over in Dayton, and she's a part of our assess and plan process over there. But call her up and ask her if she would add you to her list, because she curates and sends out all kind of great information all the time about economic development and co-working and remote work. And she'll just flood you with information. But it is really good stuff. I work with her and follow her stuff, and she stays on top of all the cutting edge stuff. And Mary, you can get on there too if you want to. It's a lot of just up-to-date information that she sends out to a network. Remember when she had that co-working meetup in Cookville, Mayor, when we went up to the Biz Foundry? That's when she started, setting up her network of people that were either doing this or were interested in doing it. And then she is just a great resource. And then also when it's time for you to begin to apply for a grant, your TVA regional area representative, whoever works with you, I know the one that's assigned to Dayton to John Bamber is now in the mix with us on that co-working entrepreneur center. And we'll go back to them when we lay out their strategy. And I'm going to ask them to look at the stuff the community needs first, and then tell us what they might like to fund and get their funding lined up. And then we'll go back and see what we need to do with placemakers or with, local funding, that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So go ahead. They've got a big thing with TVA that y'all can tap, and you've been in there working with them so long. Just go ahead and get in that. Okay.
Okay.
And Mayor, are you getting a lot of information from other sources? I know you've done a great job following all this stuff and looking at all these pilot communities. And I'm glad that you got into Mo Collins' class. When I took her class, I finally went, oh, okay, that's how you do this. I didn't know. I mean, we've been all working in this field forever, but it really engaged me and informed me how to figure out what you wanted to do and how to structure it. But where else do you get information, Mayor, on this? Are you just doing a lot of this research yourself?
I've done a lot of research myself, talking to you. I talked to Risty Pender in the past and Lamont Price at PCD. Jeff Brown up at Biz Foundry.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I found before I took the class with Mo is that I need some kind of group here locally to take it on. It can't be me in my office because you just can't do it. So I need to get this core group here locally, and that's been the holdup, is trying to find a group willing to do it. And it seems like it needs to be a 501c3, which I've got one in mind. I just got to try to convince them maybe to take it on or do something with it, or start one ourselves. So that was looking at it, and then taking most courses, really talk about the education that's available, which I knew some of it, but I didn't know Pathways does as much as they did, and also the access to capital and how each different businesses need different access to capital. That was a real learning experience right there, and that's why I told Charlie earlier. I said this kind of fizzled out, didn't turn out like I did, but I think it's a blessing in disguise because I hadn't had time to really digest everything from the class and put it into something. So I think waiting a month will give us more time to do that and come up with a better idea of what we need to do moving forward. So I think this was a blessing in disguise how this come out. We just got this little small group to kind of talk about where we are and where we need to go, and then have a larger group, and that gives us time to network and get those people together and get them interested, and then have something a month from now.
Hey, Charlie, how do you think, going back to what Brenda Brock's doing over in Hickman County with her economic development group, like your group, your economic development group, can be an anchor for this too, and bring in a lot of resources and stuff. So think about how you can strategically position this initiative kind of under the auspices of economic development. But then how to, set up the right group and the right structure in your community to, have somebody to, technically, when y'all finish the Tennessee Downtowns, if y'all wanted to take the step and become a Main Street community, then like in Athens, Lisa Dotson is paid part-time to be the Main Street director. And then she's paid part-time by the university to direct the Lighthouse. In Dayton, Candace Graham, the Main Street director, is going to move her office, and she's going to run their new entrepreneur co-working center. So, there's opportunities to think about, covering the operational cost of, and somebody to be in charge of your center, your services. But, you can or cannot connect that with the Main Street initiative if you need it, if you want to do that. That's an idea. But a lot of communities are kind of going that way. So some of them are running them out of their chambers. But it's just, when it's done under an umbrella of economic development, it just gets a lot of people's attention, and you can structure it, and it is economic development. It's just economic development serving another sector of your economy, right? Like we say, our Main Street work and our Tennessee Downtowns work is really downtown economic development, because we're economic developers too. We're certified too. And, we try to look at it through that lens, right? So, anyway, you'll know what to do out there, but that's just some ideas of what some other people are doing. And you ought to give Brenda a call, Charlie, and talk to her, because she's way far along and she's done an excellent job integrating both things, right? And then Mayor, as you need anything we can provide to you, you're doing, anytime you need something, just email us or call us, and we'll get it over there to you. But But yeah, if you wanted to have a meeting and then have a presentation for your group, just a kind of a briefing on this, it might be worth it to get Melissa Hassel to come to do a little something on the co-working stuff. I've had her do that for me in other places.
Okay,
You know, we could get Melissa to come and Nancy and I could do something for you or whoever else. But if you wanted to make it a couple hour session and feed them or something, just to let them, that's an idea if you want to do that. Just however you think is best. You know what to do, right?
yeah, I think that's a good idea, and it's just, it's something you and I and Dan, we can talk about as we go forward, because I have a lot of ideas, but I don't want to overload everybody and try to do too many things at once, so we need to narrow it down to something and make sure it's successful off the bat instead of overloading everybody. And that's something I'll talk to you and Dan as we go forward over the course of next month and kind of get your input on it, see how we need to do going forward. Because like I said, I did that course yesterday and I had so many ideas popping up in my head and I was writing it down and everything, and it was just like information overload, and I didn't have time to put anything together for today.
Well, why don't you take a few weeks and digest it, and then Charlie, you've seen that material before, but look over it. And then if y'all wanted to, we could set up just the two of y'all and Nancy and I, we could set up another Zoom meeting on this too, before you even, figure out what you want to do when you bring your group together. If you want to do that, we can do that for you too. Just to I agree with you, you got to get organized and not do too much, right? But start focusing on something that meets your community needs and your economic development goals, and get that initial phase in place. And then, start accessing and bringing in all the available services and funding you can offer. And then you can always continue to add to it, right? I mean, it can grow over time. But I'll find out from Nancy again, or if y'all want to have a Zoom with her to plan that meeting, that would be great. And we can do that in a couple, week or so, whenever you get ready on that. Okay. So you let me know when you're ready, Mayor, and we can set up a Zoom with her, and then just kind of get you organized and then figure out when you want to bring, does that sound like a way to help support you on this?
Yeah, I think it does, because that kind of gives us a little bit of focus before we go into the meeting, so we have a kind of a plan, what we want to do going forward. We can come up with like a little agenda as we go into that meeting, and how, what information we want to present and how we need to present it, and then have a better idea of what we're going to do at that meeting. So I think that's a really good idea. I appreciate that.
Okay. All right. Well, then that's what we'll do. So let's see. Y'all take a little time and then call me when you're ready to set the Zoom up with her. And then in the meantime, Charlie, go ahead, if you can, talk to Brenda, and then call Melissa Hassel, okay? The TVA stuff. And then we can pull them in as, partners, and then get organized to let y'all, go through this. It's like you got to do an education. You got to do an assessment, a little education, and then an assess and plan thing to get focused. And then that's the basis of what your team does. And then you start, figuring out what you got to do to, put your first phase together, right? So, but you've talked to all the right people. Whistey's a part of the team, and Lamont. And then Nancy, that's the ECD team up there for placemakers. So you've made the right contacts up there. Okay. So what else is going on out there? Is everybody, your restaurants are still open and your businesses are okay downtown, and the rest of them are okay? Doing all right?
Yeah, seem to be. We just had one. It's an organic farm to table restaurant open like a week or two ago, and seems to be doing gangbusters business so far. We're actually, Charlie setting up a lunch meeting there for a project he's working on. We're going to do that. Is it next week? I think.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's great.
Be a good space, I think, going forward to really host lunch for businesses looking to locate here. I think that's going to be a really good space.
Right.
And we're still working on the facade grants. We extended the deadline because of the ice storm, and some of the contractors weren't available to give an estimate as soon as the deadline was going to hit. So we extended that. And I've had probably 7 or 8 different conversations with people putting in that. I'm actually going to meet with one later today. They submitted an application, but they didn't submit any estimate from the contractor, so I'm gonna ask them to get something in writing. But I've had two other ones that say, you know, let them know as we get closer, if we need more applications, they'd be willing to put one in. So I feel really good about that going forward. I think we're gonna have a lot of interest in it, a lot of applications coming in. We may actually have to turn some away. So that's kind of surprising, as a matter of fact, going into it.
Well, this one is the getting them started and making extremely positive, and then you can apply for others down the road. You know that wonderful lady, I think Barbara, that has the beauty shop? You know, the one that's on the downtowns committee? I want to really make sure, Mayor, we help her with some ideas on what she can do to the front of her building.
Okay.
She called me, she pulled me aside and said she was so excited and wanted to do this, but she just didn't really know what to do.
Okay.
So I've got a couple of pictures somewhere I've taken. I think they're on my phone. I can text you that it's a building just like hers that shows some ideas you can do with some paint and windows and stuff. But I think we need to really help her figure out the improvements that she wants to make. So if you want to pull us in for a meeting with her to help her get her application together, let's be sure we take care of her. Because I felt like she trusted me enough to just kind of confide in me that she wanted a little help, but she's real excited. So when you talk to her, just reach out and let's help her, because that's a really key location and she's been there a long time, right? And we can help her. And she owns that building, I think. So let's be sure not let her fall through the cracks. Hey, did you get a hold of that guy with Evergreen Construction that Kim Parks? Charlie, we've been pulling on Kim Parks in Lebanon because they had a real successful facade program and they got a lot of contractors out there that did a good job for her. Did you get a hold of that Evergreen Construction David Pine guy to clean your bricks, Mayor? Did that work out?
Contacted directly. The building owner who asked me about it, I gave them their information. Because at first they were asking about, could it do anything with bricks or were they required to paint it? And I told them, no, you don't have to paint it. And I told them you can clean the bricks, and I sent them the Secretary of State's or Secretary of Interior standards about cleaning the brick and all this kind of stuff. And
perfect.
Of that Evergreen, I gave them that name and told them they'd done work like that in Lebanon, and they sent me an email thanking me. So they should
okay. So the deal on the bricks are, people, you don't need to pressure wash those bricks because it'll dissolve them.
Right.
But you can clean them with a lighter cleaning, and you there's a certain kind of cleaner you put on there, not heavy chemicals. Right. So apparently that guy knows how to do it. And Kim Parks is really well schooled in historic preservation. And when she did her building, she knew all those Secretary of Standards things and stuff and held people to the highest standard. So, she's a good resource and she's close to you. So we'll continue to reach out to her. Okay. So, okay. Well, listen, has y'all sales, I'm going to shut up. Your sales tax increase, your revenue sales tax increases are still up, aren't they, after COVID? And
yeah, it's usually about $20,000 to $25,000 a month, year over year up. So,
So one thing I'm gonna leave you with this thought. I come across from the National Main Street Center this week. We get something every morning from them. But you know how the cities and counties are getting ready to get a bunch of money through the American Recovery Act?
Yes, ma'am.
The Main Street Network is recommending that local programs be ready to ask for funding for things that they need. And, y'all could, fund a private consultant to come in and set you up a really terrific Main Street website through that money. I'm not so sure, Mayor. I don't know. You'll get all that from the County Mayors Association, but you could probably peel off some of that. Well, you would want to peel off some of it for economic development purposes. And Charlie, people are probably calling you. There's plenty of consultants out there that want to spend that money for y'all, but you may have some economic development things to do on the industrial side, but you might be able to peel off a little bit of that money as seed money to launch your entrepreneur and your small business center.
Okay.
because you're gonna have to pick the location and figure out how to pay rent and utilities for a while. So just park that. As you pull your plans together and identify your needs, that might be some new money that you're gonna get in there that you, if you choose to invest it, you could invest it in this entrepreneur, small business, remote work thing, because that's economic recovery. And, or, you know, you could invest it in, you know, building up other things you need, you know, for your downtown economic development initiative.
All right.
But we can provide you a scope from another community that's just done a really terrific new Main Street website with a business promotion and property promotions category on it. We can provide you some examples of that, but that may be another source of funding that you could apply to some of these goals right now. So just, I mentioned that to y'all to be thinking about, you know, with your allocation. So, you know, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so, and then finally, I talked to Reggie too. Charlie, I called Reggie Mudd, you know, because he works with us at ECD and he was on my CRT board and all that stuff. But, you know, he's wide open, y'all, to talk to you about the properties that he and his wife own over there. He doesn't want to appear to be too pushy or forward. So,
Okay.
you know, y'all need to reach out to him, but he's really wide open and interested to work with y'all now. And it may be the right time for them to, you know, put some of their stuff back in service. So I just pass that along, and he's all up on what we do with the main streets and the downtowns, all that stuff. And he knows how this is a central part of that. So he knows all that too. So I think, did I tell you that already, Mayor, that I talked to him?
I think you had told me you were gonna talk to him. I've talked to him too about that space over here he's got. It's 111 Main Street. And I talked to him about some of the ideas I had for it. I'm just not sure right now. I think we need to do the networking and everything to see where we stand. He said he did have a woman that was interested in the space, but he thought the Entrepreneur Center was a better use than what she was proposing.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you've made that connection. You do need to go through the process to determine what you want to do, but at least he's willing, and that's one location you identified. So that's a good deal too, right? So, and they should be really easy to work with if you decide to do that. So that's a good deal too. And they own that little retail spot over there that's attached to the back of the bank building.
Right.
That's one of your retail spots that's ready to get somebody in it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So they can help you, you know, try to get a tenant in there too. So, okay. Well, listen, again, that was an hour meeting, but I appreciate the chance to connect with y'all. And like you say, sometimes you got to talk through all this stuff and get it organized before you pull your other people in. So, just let us know how we can support your effort, when we can get those Zooms and that meeting set, and we'll just provide you whatever we can to help y'all. Okay.
All right. Awesome.
Okay. And looking forward to see you both in person soon. Can't wait to get back out. Okay.
All right. Good.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thank you. All right, Ms. Knudsen, if you're still on there, we're doing it through
I'm
phone, so I can't see the screen. Do you have anything you want to add or any ideas? I don't know if she's still on here. Oh, she's gone.